5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello everybody, Wild Chevy here. You guys are watching the Atomic Salt Live Show. As always, I am joined by Casey Roberts. Hello Casey, how are you today?
Good evening, Ellen. How are we doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, except for the ringing in my ear now.
It's just a little something special from meeting you.
Feel it right here. Feel it right here in that knife in the back. Oh.
Hey, it's the safest way to stab somebody, according to Goldacott. Or no, that wasn't Goldacott. That was, oh no, it was the Taylor on Deep Space Nine. I'm going to hell since I can't remember this.
Oh, if you guys are your DS9 nerds out there, please leave comments below. Tell Casey how wrong he is.
Garrick, I think was his name. He was the former Obsidian Order spy master. You know, and they're in the middle of a shootout. It's great, you know. And all of a sudden, you know, Garrick pops out from behind and shoots a couple guys in the back, and I think Miles or somebody else says, "You would shoot a man in the back?" And Garrick replies, "Well, it is the safest way, isn't it?"
So as always, we're going to start the show talking about what we did this week. Casey, what have you done this week in the hobby world? Have you painted, played, or done anything special this week?
Oh my gosh, man! I've been painting up a storm. Let me show you what I've been painting here real quick. So going to Feast of Blades here, and I'm trying to get everything wrapped up. So you see here, I've got a bunch of Terminators.
Wow, those are looking very pretty.
Yeah, base coat and wash does a lot. Really, all it is it's a pretty simple scheme. So if you haven't seen it before, it's a gray primer. Then it's just I think it's Eastern red, horn red. It's whatever the base red paint is. So you only need a couple of coats for it. The bronze or the metallic is all just a single layer of brown, then with a single layer of metallic over the top of it. Some metallics around, and then a nice wash using Secret Weapons soft body black.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with the way they're turning out. These are probably about as far as I'm going to take them right now. I mean, obviously, like, the bases aren't done. There's some highlights that need to happen, but for a tournament army, this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with where they're at.
Oh, hopefully your dice roll well with them. As we all know, painted miniatures are fare better with the dice rolls.
It's it's about not standing out from the pack. If you only have one miniature that's painted really well, he will die first. But if you have a whole bunch of painted miniatures and then an unpainted one, it's the unpainted guy that will always die.
So he would be a lone wolf?
You're a funny man.
You called it a pack earlier.
Call it what it is.
So have you done anything else this week other than painting like a storm?
It's mostly been painting up a storm, but I did help you out as a TO for the Feast of Blades qualifier. We'll get to that in just a few minutes, right after you tell us what you did in hobby this week.
I did absolutely nothing this week, hobby-wise. I did do this nice little Roman. Spartan. Do this little Spartan helmet. Other than that,
for those of you who can't see it very well, let me describe it. It's actually he took sheet copper and beat it out, hammered it, forged the copper himself. It's quite impressive. A lot of metal working went into this, right?
Sure, for the purposes of this show.
For those of you who don't know, Alan is an expert metalsmith.
Well, that's what I rolled in my character list, at least.
So, but you did do something hobby-wise. At least it's of the hobby.
Well, I mean, hobby personally, I did not play anything this week, per se. I haven't painted anything this week, although I really want to. Just been very busy with other school commitment projects. But as Casey mentioned earlier, we did host a Feast of Blades qualifier here at the local store as kind of a co-op with the Salt City Gladiator games and End Zone in Clearfield.
Yeah, so why don't you first of all tell us what this tournament was and what it was for?
So Feast of Blades coming up next, in October, here in a few weeks. They have their Grand Invitational tournament. You have to win a qualifier to actually be accepted into that tournament there. Was it 1,500 points? 1,500 point game, 40K. A lot of restrictions in listing, so there wasn't super cheese. Got a nice little turnout. It was a fun game, fun little turnout, fun tournament. Some learning lessons for 7th edition. Got to clear out all those cobwebs and old 5th and 6th rules.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about game day itself. So we had 8 people to start with, and then about halfway through round 1, we had a 9th person come in. I actually got to say, Feast of Blades uses software called Torrent of Fire. We've never used it before. It did take us a few minutes to kind of get used to it. Once we did, it actually made the process quite a bit easier.
Yeah, Torrent of Fire. They're not associated with anybody particular. This is a third-party system. I can say, after using it, it's a very good tournament program. If you run a store or if you guys are a gaming group and you do a lot of tournaments, check out the Torrent of Fire app. Real great tracking system. And then they also, if you are a member, if you go to the tournament, you can actually track your overall ranking as well.
Yep. Feast of Blades used it at the tournament last year. It's a fairly nice program that they have going on. So I was quite impressed with it. I was a little afraid, but it all worked out. So anyways, so we had 8 guys show up. I can say guys because they were all dudes. So of those 8, let's kind of break down and talk about what kind of armies we saw there.
A lot of Marines.
It was a power armor sausage fest.
Oh, let's talk about armies other than Space Marines that we saw.
Do Chaos Marines count?
We could call them, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. We saw Chaos Marines. Did we see any Tau?
We did not see any Tau this year.
Because he wasn't gonna. Our one Tau player didn't want to play.
Nope. He was a loser.
And then Orcs. Did see some Orcs?
We did. We saw kind of like a speed freak looking list of the Orcs.
Saw a parking lot of Orcs.
Yeah. But not a lot of boys. It was a lot of transports and meganauts. So it was kind of an interesting list. It was not the typical one you'd see. Then we saw Chaos Space Marines. That was a Zinj army. That was a very elite army. I think he had 27 models total.
But he'd like to spawn more, I noticed.
He did. He had this grand vision of cascading, summoning all these different units and like tripling the amount of points he had on the table. But as we've kind of seen, that sort of thing really only works on paper. I'm sure that there's someone somewhere had a buddy or saw a guy do it at their local game store. But Zinch armies that are just trying to, spam spawning really aren't that dangerous, from what I've seen, because it takes so many points for them to set themselves up.
That unless you're running demons, that the Malefic is very, very dangerous. I saw he was taking a lot of perils checks because you rolled enough. I mean, even though he wasn't summoning demons, he still rolled doubles.
Yeah. Then I guess maybe we do, maybe we don't count. We actually saw 2 Blood Angels armies. That was a little surprising.
Xenos-wise, we saw there was Necron army as well. I think that rounded it out.
There was a Necron army there. Kind of what you'd expect there. You had a command barge and a monolith and a couple of open truck transports. So I'll say that they acquitted themselves fairly well. Necron shooting is still something to be worried about in this edition. So while they're technically getting to be one of our older courtesies, they can definitely bring the pain when they want to.
Yeah, they are definitely armies you don't want to take a lot of tanks against. It's a lot of glancing hits.
As I said before, we had 2 Blood Angel armies. They were very similar looking to each other, actually. One had 1 Storm Raven, the other had 2 Storm Ravens. The single Storm Raven list, the double Storm Raven list somehow still found points for Meth in there. I thought it was kind of fun to see in the last round. For Biomancy he got Endurance, Iron Arm, and then for his Warlord trait he had Fearless and It Will Not Die. And he basically turned Meth into the Emperor. It was pretty amazing.
Now, so since you were a TO helping me out, I was one of the organizers running it. How did you enjoy that experience being on the other side of the table?
I'm a power and control freak, so I really like being in charge of things. But no, actually, I do enjoy being a TO for a couple of reasons. One, I get to enjoy everybody else's games. I get to see what's going on. I get to follow everything, and I don't have to. I can't say, "Oh, that's a horrible, crazy list," and watch like wrecking ball lists go through everybody else without the actual fear of having to face it myself. Because deep down, I can't. You're getting to help people, but then I think the biggest thing, and the reason why I suggest everybody try and TO a tournament at one point or another, even if you're not the head TO, is you're going to see a lot of different armies in a very short order, and you're going to see a lot of different play styles. Because this game has gotten so big, and we all have different ideas on how it's supposed to be played, that you're going to find yourself constantly checking the rules. I mean, I don't think we actually ever had to make a not covered by the rules judgment call yesterday, but I will say that I feel like I got to know the rules a lot better than what I did going into it. You can call this because I'm just crappy at rules, but when you're just playing with the same local people or playing your one same list, there's a certain subsection of the rules that you're going to get very familiar with. And there's other sections that you're not going to be as exposed to. Like we really got, with the zine challenge, we really, really had to get into those cycles, something I don't mess around with too much. There was a few other people who were finding themselves in assault a lot more often, and so they were having to constantly ask questions about the intricacies of 7th edition assault. So really, if you can do it, I suggest you go for it. Even if I don't care what game you're playing. I don't care if it's 40K or fantasy or Infinity or anything else. You're going to get to know the rules a lot better by being a TO. What about yourself? Did you like it?
It was interesting. A little bit of standing around, but you got to watch a lot of stuff. We got some photos of the tables in action. One thing I did, it's that because we just got into 7th edition, there's still a lot of older rules that's a little bit harder to get a grasp of now. Like needing a 7 on the vehicle damage chart to explode really takes a lot more thought when rolling your dice. Charging through difficult terrain. I saw a lot of people goofing up. Now you just need -2 on your roll, which was a lot different than before. And then, like, one of the things we noticed this week is a question: templates and buildings. In 5th and 6th edition, it was all you had to choose a level of a building. That is no longer in the rules. It just says anything under the template. So, but if you're using a blasts are a lot more effective now. If you're using a flamer, you still have to have the small end of the flamer touching your model. So it does make it a little bit. You have to be very clear when you're playing what rules to use and what rules have changed a lot.
I agree. And we got to see a lot of fun stuff. And that's the other good thing about playing a tournament. People are going to be start bringing some very difficult lists, and these are the lists that you might not necessarily see kicking around in your local meta or at your local game store. For instance, we saw Night Titan. I don't think that night ever went down for the entire tournament.
But it wasn't very effective. Well, actually, it wasn't effective on the second round. Second round was short table edge deployment, so he pretty much had to walk the whole way across the field, and he wasn't really doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah, he was really wanting to use that strength D close combat stomp that he has. But yeah, people really made it difficult for him. I mean, either through the way that they set up, or the missions, and I really don't think he got the work out of it that he was hoping for. Now, to be fair, I think it took him to second place. Didn't take him first, but definitely did give him second.
Actually, when it totaled out, he was third or fourth place.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. And that's another interesting thing. I mean, that's a lot of points there. And that's coming from other places in your list. So, in a mission like where you're trying to control locations, or you're trying to score, well, it'd be good for knocking on kill points. But yeah, it's for that durability and for that strength, you're trading off a lot of other things.
That's what I tell people with Grey Knights. You want boots on the ground first over shiny objects.
And there's a lot to be said about that, because the guy who eventually won it was a Space Marine player. He was rocking vanilla Marines. And when we looked at it, there was really nothing special going on with his list. There was no over-the-top cheesy combos. He had a few squads, a couple of dreadnoughts, a bike squad, and they were just really working well together. So, and an Aegis line. Let's not forget the mighty Aegis line. What other sorts of things did you see, or kind of notes did you take away from this?
It was a fun experience, all in all. I did enjoy the rules packet for PC Blades, very clear and concise. Torrent of Fire was a great tournament tracker system to use. The people we had there playing, we had some fairly new people, some people just shaking off cobwebs. We didn't really have many OP players. It was a very fun event overall.
That's great. What about the venue? We played over at Endzone in what is it, Layton, Utah, like in northern Utah. Because
it's what I mean. Playing at a local game store is always great. You get to meet new people. It breaks you out of your meta.
How was the store to work with? Did they do any kind of surprise support?
Yeah. Our top 3 players, not only did they get their Visa Blades patch saying that they won the qualifier, there was some prize support at the end. They also had a Pepsi sponsorship, as it were. So we had drinks all day.
Yeah, and we were having to, because this is a Saturday at a game store, there's a lot of foot traffic coming in and out, and we had to shoo a lot of people away from our ice chest.
Do we want to talk about Slippy McSlipperson?
The term is Droppy McDroppertons of the Breakshires. Okay?
Please explain.
Tell the story. You're going to tell it better than me.
No. Please, Casey, explain how you got this new nickname.
Okay. The ironic thing is I'm actually trying to help this kid out. So he's brought on a whole bunch of drop pods, and he says, "Well, I need to snap shoot because it came in this train." And I say, "No, I am the wise TO, and let me tell you that vehicles and walkers that come in off of Deep Strike come in at combat speed, and combat speed allows your vehicle or your walker to fire one weapon at full ballistic skill and snap shoot the rest." And I'm able to show this to him in the main rulebook. And he says, "Oh, but poor Mr. T.O., these are drop pods, and drop pods have special rules that say that they still have to snap shoot coming in. And it's in my codex." So, being the helpful guy that I am, I say, "All right, while you're playing, would you like me to look it up in your codex? You have your book here. Do you mind if I pick it up and take a look at it?" And he says, "Of course not. Go right ahead. You're trying to help me out." So I go and I pick up the book and promptly drop it. Basic game workshops, shiny, ultra slip covers. It comes down on the corner of it, and I actually dented the cover of this book. And I can tell you, I feel horrible about it.
It was just what, on the top of the book, right?
It was on the top of the book. Honestly, if you're
right there.
Yep, right along there. So honestly, if you didn't know what you were looking at, you probably would have never noticed it. I still feel horrible because that's another piece, that's somebody else's property that I just damaged. Offered to make it up to him, and we're going to try and get that resolved.
Yeah, that's where I walked in. I was finishing up, looking at something else, and I see just T.O. Casey making promises on the side, I'm like, no, Casey, you can't be making all these promises to let this kid win.
Oh, don't worry, he took care of himself. No, he did not make a couple of friends at that tournament. I feel bad for him. He did, and it's totally legal, and I support this tactic. I feel that he played it very well. His opponent thought he had the second round in the bag. He thought he was on more objectives, but at the last minute, this kid ran out a bunch of land speeders, dropped off scouts, and because the scouts were troops and they had objectives secured, were able to take away a number of objectives from a guy who had elite units on these objectives. And so it was completely legal, and I feel it was tactically brilliant on his part. But his opponent was not happy. So, but if you'd like to, I've got some pictures pulled up, and we can just kind of bring those up and show those off.
Sure, yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, if you
lock
want
it
to
on your screen.
Yeah, just lock it on my screen.
Boom! Done. Now we're just seeing your face.
But it's such a beautiful face. Okay. So, as I said, we saw a lot of Storm Ravens this game, and they were all really nicely painted too. And same goes with I think all of it. We didn't have any like really junky armies. Like everybody put in a lot of work. There wasn't a whole lot of great plastic running around on the tabletop. So this was a Storm Raven that was coming in on the Night Titan. This is a funny story here on this one. This Storm Raven actually went into hover mode to drop off a bunch of troops in the turn right after this. And then in his opponent's turn, the Knight actually got to close combat with the Storm Raven and battered it out of the sky.
SWAT.
Yeah. Here's the aforementioned Zinch army. I think the really cool thing here is these are all actual Zinch models. This is crazy expensive to get a hold of. So, with goblin green bases.
I actually had the pleasure of, so third round, we didn't want anybody who had to buy not to play. So we did have a few ringers coming in, and last round, it was up to me to play as the ringer. So I got to play him against my Grey Knights. I know Casey has this thing about pulling reins on certain games, and I was like, no, Demons versus Grey Knights, gotta go for it. Turn one, it was able to get banishment off on that Demon Prince and shoot him to death.
You could not have asked for a better matchup for your Grey Knights. One very low model count elite army versus another very low model elite army. And your army just happens to turn the awesome dial up to 11 when you're fighting chaos.
But it is interesting because Grey Knights are preferred enemy demons. Those rerolls on ones to hit and to wound, very nasty.
Yeah. So we got a great picture here. This is just a really pretty picture. I think I got it from a couple of different angles of this army set up inside of these ruins. First of all, we'll give props to Endzone here because they've got a lot of really nice terrain that you're able to use. And so, if anybody who hasn't been to Feast of Blades isn't familiar with they use a lot of terrain on their tables. And so we really tried to simulate that by making terrain-heavy games. I know there's a few people who weren't quite so happy about that because they didn't always have perfect lines of sight, but as you can see here, these snipers are still able to go just about board edge to board edge. Oh, one other thing. If you look on the right-hand side, you have a biker captain who's somehow popped a wheelie and jumped like Steve McQueen up to the top of this wall. Yeah, just a review. Take a look at the top of this, Alan.
And that's one of the key things. If you don't tell your opponent what's impassable, anything goes.
Yeah, I have a hard time calling it a Reaper, but it sure does look fun. And boy, you are gonna. He's lucky he did not get sniped off of there. Just like what we talked about, we saw a lot of power armored Marines here. In this case, we've got Blood Angels versus Dark Angels. The Dark Angels actually fought Death Wing. This was our lowest model count army because it was purely Death Wing. I believe we had 21 models total. So, and then the Blood Angels guys were really leaning on their special characters. Two Storm Raven list, and not only is there two Storm Ravens, but those were two beautiful Storm Ravens, I gotta say. We've got a... Okay, so this was our Orcs versus Blood Angel match that we talked about earlier. To the right, you can see Mephisto with a couple of custom red wings. This was the game when he turned himself into a Strength 10, Toughness 10, Fearless, It Will Not Die monster. So, I actually didn't see the end of this game. Do you remember how this turned out?
I believe the Orcs won.
No. Good on them.
Well, this is third mission, so third mission was dependent on quadrants.
Yeah, fair enough. So I can see that actually because he has a lot of points. He had a lot of points invested in, not a lot of units. So, and almost all of the orcs were mechanized, so he had a lot of vehicles running around. So I can see him controlling the board fairly well with this. And there's my daughter. Isn't she cute?
And we're off the screen share. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Shameless plug there, Casey.
Hey, you know what? I've got a cute kid. I want to show the world.
You only did half the work.
Very little of it, actually. Half would be... I provided half the DNA. So that's about it. That's what I've got for our Feast of Blades tournament summary. I just want to reiterate to all you guys, running a tournament is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. It doesn't have to be anything big. It can be fairly simple. It doesn't need to be a big qualifier like what we did for Feast of Blades. You know, this could be something very simple that you set up on your own, like at your local game store. I was about to say with your buddies, but you want to try and pull in as many people as possible, because the reason why I think it's so great is you get to see all these different armies, you get to see all these different tactics, and a lot of different things that you wouldn't normally see. So.
Yeah, and if you're not running like a certain campaign where you're using a lot of special missions, special rules, there's a lot. You can grab the tournament pack for Adepticon, Feast of Blades, Bay Area Open. They're out there and open to share and to use.
Yeah, you don't have to do the work yourself on this one. In fact, I highly recommend that you steal liberally from other sources. So Bay Area Open is a great one. Adepticon is a great one. Feast of Blade is another good one. All of these people have tournament packs, mission structures, everything pre-set up for you. So you have no reason not to do a tournament.
So
And let's talk
now,
about our favorite game, Infinity, too.
yes. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I think that when it comes to, yes, you do have Ice Storm in the background, and we did open it up and play with the models. I thought everybody was, okay, I'm going off on a tangent. I thought everybody was overhyping the models in these. Like, oh yeah, okay, the digital sculpts, but how much nicer can you make a digital sculpt? Oh my gosh, these are beautiful. You know, they're old sculpts. You saw they had faces, and maybe, you know, they were smiling or frowning or something. But holy cow, there's expression in these faces. They are just so good. I mean, these are probably the finest models that I have ever seen. And it's in a starter box. But Infinity has the XES system, so it's designed, you can do it with 4 players, you can scale it up to 30 players, or however big you want. But you can get mission packs from Corvus Belli, you can track player rankings across the globe if you want to. So they really make it easy on you. So even if you're not playing 40K, there are a lot of ways that you can go out and you can find missions and you can find ways to support your tournament.
Now, since we've been talking about Feast of Blades, I know that you're going there for the 2-man 40K tournament. Will you be
Yes.
bringing your Infinity stuff as well?
My plan is to bring my Infinity guys. I would very much love to play in the Infinity tournament. I know I would get crushed. Because I think I've played 6 games of Infinity total. I'm really ashamed of saying that. But I love painting them, and I love the rules. I love talking about them. And I would love to play. But they've got their Infinity. Every Infinity event, like, either overlaps with the doubles tournament, or it bleeds over into Sunday, and I just can't make it work. However, they are going to have a ton of tables there. Shark Mounted Lasers has provided all of their terrain, and if you guys haven't seen pictures, look it up. This is really sharp looking terrain, and they've done tables upon tables of this beautiful terrain, all done up, all painted. It looks gorgeous. So, if nothing else, I'm just bringing my models there just to get some games in after hours. So, the guys from the Krug are there, and they're really great guys. So maybe I'll let them romp and stomp me.
Hey, if nothing else, I mean, get them in front of the camera, get a little interview, show us what's going on at the Feast of Blades.
Yeah, maybe we'll film a round or 2 of Infinity while we're there. So, Warsenal's going to be there too. Maybe there's some products that they leaked out and pulled back that'll be there, and we can show those off in the game. So, yep. So we will be at Feast of Blades. We will be trying to give you guys a lot of coverage, both 40K and Infinity and everything else in the book. And we'll try and get in a couple of interviews as well.
All right. Oh, that's it for everything on my notes. And do you have anything else to add, Casey?
Other than you're a beautiful human being, Alan. That's all I've got to say.
Do you owe me money or something? All right, folks, that's it for our show. Thank you for watching. Let us know what you think. Put it down in the comments below. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. This is a weekly show, so come and join us again next week. Like if you like this. Share it amongst your friends. If you're a company that wants us to review anything for you, we do interviews and unboxings, and just the link's down there in the comments below, and in the description below. So once again, I've been Wild Chevy. This is Rocket Yeti, Casey, McSlipperton.
Droppy McDroppertons, the Breakshires. Okay? You're going to get this right. But anyways, good night, everybody. May the dice gods be with you.
Paint your minis. Have a good night.